You want a
Oh,
Molotov?
fuck, that was a good
Do you want to burn alive? Ugh. Oh. Okay, he sniped me in the face as I was fucking shit talking. So I was halfway between sleeping and being awake. I was dozing off, I was tired, but suddenly a video idea popped into my head and I decided to write it down in my composition book. This idea didn't just invent itself out of nowhere, it's actually almost completely inspired by a comment I left on one of my own videos. You guys might have seen a video where I reacted to the absurdity of White Boy 7th Street respecting Drifter for not enjoying Infinite Warfare. I left a comment basically saying, you cannot make Call of Duty great again unless you can define what it means to be great. At least I'm pretty sure that's what I wrote. I'm not too lazy to check, I'm just trying to show a little bit of confidence in that I know what I say when I write stuff, because I don't just go on autopilot and type stupid shit. No. Either way, that's the inspiration for this kind of freestyle commentary. Just enjoy some Call of Duty World War II gameplay in the background. I've color corrected it, I've added brightness and contrast differences, and hopefully you guys enjoy the way my gameplay looks, even though it's in stunning 720p. So let's get really simple here as we start off this commentary. What does something mean to be great? Because usually if you want something, you know what that thing is. Saying you want to make Call of Duty great again is the extent of when someone goes to McDonald's and you just say, well, get me something that I like. And the person says, well, what do you like? And you say, well, the thing that I like, the thing that is great, the thing that is tasty. And they'll be like, well, what do you think is tasty? That goes on for a lot longer. The thing is that if you're going to have a movement called Make Call of Duty Great Again, you have to be able to define what great is. What makes a Call of Duty great? Because Call of Duty Ghosts, for instance, is a game that basically mirrors the style of Modern Warfare 2 with extra innovations. So a lot of people think Modern Warfare 2 is a god COD. What if you had Modern Warfare 2 without all the imbalances, without all of the frustrations, without all of the charm, and just make a really balanced MW2 with a whole new perk system, sliding, leaning, and some interactable environments? Well, apparently you get one of the worst COD games ever made because you can't mention it without pleasing one person and pissing off 10. And anybody that's played Call of Duty for a long time knows that Call of Duty Ghosts is just a boring Modern Warfare 2. It's really hard to look past that once you notice it. I encourage you to play both games in one sitting. You'll realize what I mean. It's literally Modern Warfare 2 without any of the things that makes Call of Duty interesting. And yes, some of those interesting things were just frustrating, like noob tubes and getting chopper gunnered into your spawn. I digress. So if Call of Duty Ghosts isn't great, then Call of Duty Black Ops 2 must be great. Well, sure, I mean, it's got 3-lane maps, it's got relatively balanced gunplay. I think Black Ops 2 has some really good balances. But unfortunately, a lot of people's complaints with that game is its hit detection and registration, the consistency and time to kill. It varies, you get a lot of like melty deaths, and other times it feels like you tank damage. And as I say that, 5 people agree, 5 people don't agree. It's kind of hard, and I can just keep going down the list. What does make a Call of Duty great? Oh, I know what it is. It's no supply drops. Right, so no supply drops. Because Call of Duty didn't go downhill when it added exosuits, or thruster packs, or went to space. That's not it at all. Specialists, rigs, lasers, that didn't ruin COD. It was all supply drops. Those were a significant intrinsic flaw with the design of the last 4 COD games, including Modern Warfare Remastered in that list. Alright, well then by that definition, Call of Duty World War II won't be great, because yeah, it's boots on ground, and yeah, it's going back to the older style of Call of Duty, yeah, it's got gore, yeah, it feels like it's not as kiddie as the last 3 CODs, okay, but it's got supply drops, it can't be great anymore. But could a Call of Duty have good supply drops? What is a good supply drop? See, this video is almost a question to the request. Make Call of Duty great again, says the movement, the quote-unquote movement. Well, what do you want, says Call of Duty? Well, give us innovation, they say. Well, okay, well, here's some innovation. Well, too much innovation, that's too weird. Okay, well, going back to boots on ground. Well, this game's garbage, it feels like it could have been made in 2008. You kind of see the problem here. If you cannot define what a great Call of Duty is, you're not going to ever get one. Your standards are too high. What you want is completely unreachable. Okay, the movement's good, the weapons are good, but the maps are bad. Okay, the maps, weapons, movement's good, but the supply drop system is rigged. Oh, everything's fine, everything's perfect, but then they put a revolver or a lever action into the supply drops. The game is goddamn ruined. I'm not saying that there's ever going to be a perfect COD, and I'm not saying that it's impossible to have a good COD game, but I'm saying, to the people saying make COD great again, what the fuck does that mean? Because Infinite Warfare comes out and delivers a lot of what Black Ops 3 delivered, but in a way more fleshed out style. It delivered free content, it was very giving and open with its RNG supply drops, it worked really hard to balance things, nerfs and patches and buffs and tweaks and hotfixes came out seemingly several times a month. They kept on top of things. If there was a glitch, it got fixed within the next 3 days. The worst thing that they could not get done was the leaderboards, which sucks, but I mean, Treyarch said they were going to have emblem downloading and emblem sharing, and that never happened. And I see a lot of the people that don't like Infinite Warfare, they like Black Ops 3. Well, what does IW do except for having a different style of gunplay? What does it really do that makes it so much worse that you can't even appreciate it? Because I think IW is very close to a great Call of Duty game. I'm going to have a whole video on that soon. And that's just my personal preference. And again, 5 people agree, 5 people don't agree. Hell, I'll even say 5 people agree, 30 people don't agree. And now you're kind of maybe getting a small image of what developers deal with when trying to make a video game. They don't just want your money, they want to deliver you something that you believe is worth your money. They want to create something they think you're going to enjoy. They don't do shit out of the kindness of their hearts or to destroy the world by making money. No, it's just, let's hope they like this. They want you to like their products. That's why you're not getting another futuristic Call of Duty this year. You're getting Call of Duty World War II. Because that is what they believe you want. That's why Infinity Ward started working on a game where you go to space in light of all of the IW COD games are boring and dry. All of that criticism became Infinite Warfare. All of the criticism of Call of Duty became Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3. If the old CODs were great, because the saying is, make COD great again, so the old CODs were great, but those old CODs created such a backlash by the community that Call of Duty completely changed its style over the last 3 Call of Duty games, not including MWR, and now you want to make it great, but the greatness, quote unquote, the greatness of the previous CODs is what started these new CODs. The repetitiveness in how great those other games were wasn't enough. And even though Call of Duty sales has dipped between each title, the thing is, they're still outselling everything else, even outside of the shooter genre. So that shift might have dropped off some players, but it still gets more sales. It still was working. Their shift to a whole different style, to us, or to a lot of people, maybe felt like a bad decision or a failure, but to them, they still outsold their competition left, right, and backwards. So that was a good decision. But they can't please everyone, and they can't please stupid criticisms like Call of Duty World War II is great, except for the female soldiers. Like, fuck you, like, multiplayer is about community, and women are a part of the community, and if it makes more girls play the video game, I'm all for it. I want people to play the games I enjoy, and if that makes them feel better, that's awesome. If a futuristic game came out and you could only play as a girl in it, I might be a little apprehensive. I like being a dude. That's my thing in my video games. I like playing as a dude. I like playing as a white dude. Is that bad? Is that bad that I don't want to play as a black guy? I don't. Probably. So if Call of Duty World War II's biggest problem is that there's female soldiers, or that there's supply drops, or that the graphics aren't where people think they should be, again, what is a great Call of Duty game? Because Call of Duty World War II looks miles ahead of all of the previous quote-unquote great Call of Duty games. Color-wise, it's way better than Call of Duty Ghosts. I did have to tweak the contrast and saturation on my monitor to really make the colors and the blacks pop out, but other than that, no big deal. The beta for Call of Duty World War II ran smoother than the final launch of Black Ops 2, and I am still harping on the fact that I think Treyarch pushes too hard to get a good theater mode in their game, and I feel like the software sacrifices something, because Treyarch games always just run a little clunkier. And all my friends attest to that, multiple YouTubers will attest to that, and most lag complaints about Call of Duty are usually towards Treyarch games. So if Treyarch makes the next great Call of Duty, but most people have frame rate drops, and stutters, and clunky movement, and there's bad loading times, well then is it still great? I mean, you have to define it. Because what make Call of Duty great again sounds like is that people are bored. You sound bored. You sound like someone in your mid-20s that played Call of Duty for the last 9 years, and you're fucking bored. And that's fine, I've been there. I went and played other things. I thought Battlefield was better than COD, and now I realize it's not how it works. I'm sorry. It might be a better product in terms of what you get and the amount of experiences you might have, but as a first-person shooter enthusiast, as someone that enjoys the genre, I realize the differences between them, and I have to learn to appreciate them. I went into Infinite Warfare thinking I wasn't going to enjoy it. I was optimistic, but at the same time, I didn't think I was going to be up for another 3D movement Call of Duty, and in a way I wasn't. Seeing how Infinite Warfare is the only Call of Duty out of the last several that I haven't max prestiged in. I've max prestige in every Call of Duty since Black Ops 2, and I couldn't do it in IW. The style of gameplay, though, isn't bad, it's just fatiguing to me as somebody that put up with it for as much as I did with Black Ops 3. But the constant updates and events and content, I couldn't turn my back on IW. So I have a decent amount of playtime in it, and I think it is a good game. That's my personal preference, though. It would be stupid of me to create IW as the standard for greatness because I and my friends enjoyed it. Just like saying Black Ops 3 is the low point for the franchise because I didn't enjoy it is also ridiculous. The only way to make Call of Duty great again, by its vague definition of great, is for you to hop into a time machine, go back to when you were 13 years old, or whenever, go play Modern Warfare 2 again for the first time, and feel all of those warm, tingly emotions and excitement. Go play Call of Duty 4 on your 360 again. Go play the original Black Ops and freak out over face paints and reticle changes. Learn how to quickscope in Modern Warfare 3 for the first time again. That is the only way you are going to make Call of Duty great again, because you cannot expect developers to deliver an experience that you will enjoy as if you were 13, as if you were 15, as if you were 8 years younger. You can't expect that. Alright, so let's get to my summary and my conclusion to this video. If you stayed till this point, this is the most important part of the video, and I'll know if you didn't hear it. Call of Duty will not be great. It can't be great. Call of Duty is enjoyed by millions of people, and you are not going to be able to please all of them 100% with each title. You gotta get people like me that enjoyed IW, but not enough to grind to max prestige. You'll get people that love Boots on Ground, love Call of Duty World War II, but hearing a woman's voice in the multiplayer just completely throws them off. But if you were to have a movement called Make COD Great Again, for instance, your movement would have to define what great is. Is great the removal of supply drops? If so, then Call of Duty World War II will not be great. If great is Boots on Ground, then, well, Call of Duty Ghost is great. But no, that's too simple. You have to really dig deep and define what a great video game is, what a great first-person shooter is, and what a great Call of Duty is. And don't confuse your perception and your experience with educated fact. I know, it's hard, but trust me, you'll be taken a lot more seriously in the long run. But everybody likes to say Modern Warfare 2 is a COD god, right? It's the god of all fucking Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 2 is greatest game. Well, I mean, objectively, that game is unbalanced and broken. It's riddled with hackers. The map design is huge and wonky and complicated. I mean, I like complicated maps, but apparently that means campers. So, by a lot of people's definitions, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is just a fucking broken game with too big of maps and overpowered kill streaks that make it impossible to win when somebody calls them in. But that would require the Call of Duty community to look at their games as FPS games objectively, and not through the eyes of themselves 8 years ago. Right, well that's not gonna fucking happen. See you when I see you. Goodbye.
What's the difference between me and you? What's the difference between me and you? Back when Q was rolling with Lorenzo in a Benzo, I was banging with a gang.